burnout recovery is fairly new. I would say like 5 years old. When I first experienced it, more than a decade ago, no one was really talking about it, but a German scientist from the 70s, burnout was coined in the 70s. And all this guy said was, go take a nap. And if you are in a state of fight or flight and your rat is running, the chances of you being able to walk over to a bed and lay down and take a nap is not very high. So I had to piece this together myself. What I've learned is that it can happen bite-sized pieces, 60 seconds at a time, and doing the things that you're currently already doing. We're already breathing. How many of you have been to a yoga studio where there's some dude in the back making inappropriate noises where you feel like, mind your business, right? Probably everybody, at least once, you're like a little uncomfortable. Turns out that yogi actually was onto something. Breathing, manipulating your breath, tricks your brain into turning off your fight or flight and into a state of relaxation. So I refer to our nervous system as the motherboard. Your motherboard runs everything from your brain to your belly. The motherboard has two switches, fight or flight or relaxation. You can't be in one if you're in the other. Fight or flight is called sympathetic nervous system. Relaxation is called parasympathetic. So there's some terms here today that I'm going to use. Motherboard is your really big one. In order to reprogram your motherboard, you have to do different things in your life. Otherwise, you're going to stay in a state of fight or flight. You're going to stay in a state of burnout. Manipulating your breath, easiest, freest thing you can do. You're doing it every day. You're doing it all the time. So what we're going to do, even before I get started on my story, is we're going to be that yogi for like 4 breaths. When you're doing that breath, that it's called sigh with sound, you're actually activating your vagus nerve on the side of your neck, both sides, and it's plugged into your motherboard, and it's telling your brain, your rat can go chill out. Get him off the wheel, have him take some coffee, maybe he can take a nap. It just takes 4 breaths. Inhale through your nose, you're gonna exhale through your mouth, and you're gonna go, and you are gonna activate your vagus nerve. And I promise you, after 4 breaths, you're gonna feel different, you'll get goosebumps. I've been doing this for so long that I only have to do it once, and I physically feel different. So inhale for 4 counts through your nose. Hold at the top, exhale through your mouth. Do it again, inhale. Hold at the top, exhale. 2 more, inhale. Hold at the top, exhale through your mouth. Last one, inhale. Hold at the top, exhale through your mouth. Take a moment to just recognize how you feel in your body. Is it any different? Do you feel a little bit looser? Does your belly relax? Your limbs feel a little lighter, looser? After a while, as you start to do this, that simple exercise took, 30 seconds? You incorporate that throughout your day, you will start to create a physical change in your body to allow the brain fog happening, the tightness in your body. Your blood pressure could be accelerated, even your blood sugar spiking. Manipulating your breath throughout your day helps move out of sympathetic into parasympathetic. Super simple. Number 1 tip. When I first burned out, it was 2012. Again, no one was talking about it. And it was after I spent 2 years in research and development here in town, creating an organization called Severson Sisters. We were a nonprofit for young girls, middle school girls. It was a bullying solutions organization. I was bullied as a kid. My fight or flight started in 7th grade when I had to bribe the toughest kid in school to essentially make sure the crazy kids didn't beat me up. I took my pain, turned it into purpose, like most of us do, and I created this after-school program that went into all the schools here in town, partnered with a ton of organizations here in town, and created this program called Supergirl. But I get ahead of myself. So it was 2011. I was broke as a joke. I took my 401k, created a nonprofit, living off my credit cards, even before we had a pilot program that had already happened. I decide today's the day I'm going to announce what I'm doing to the public, posted something on Facebook, hit publish, went for a walk, left my phone at home. When I came back, I had all these messages. People were super excited, all these Facebook likes, and then I was invited over to Sonora and Living. That was the first hour. My life pretty much didn't stop at that pace for the next 8 years. I caught a bubble. Michelle Obama had just launched stopbullying.gov. We went from this one little organization, even before a pilot program, to being asked to come and partner with the Girl Scouts, Boys and Girls Club, all these different schools. I had no quantitative research. I had nothing to show, way outside my realm. And I had to figure it out. So I'm sitting, a couple weeks later, I'm on Sonora Living, hanging out with Andy, the host. I'm super on brand, got this pink feather in my hair. I'm wearing this pink flowy shirt, got pink flats on, talking about our pilot program. And I can hear my phone ringing from the green room because I forgot to turn it off. Rookie move, don't do that. And the guy is taking the battery pack off my pants and unhooking the microphone while I'm shaking hands with the producer, inviting me back the following week for 2 additional segments. I was flabbergasted. By the end of the month, our pilot program was filled. We had 30 girls. I was fielding calls from the Ellen DeGeneres show, Good Morning America, and I didn't even have a pilot program. It was nuts, absolutely insane. By the end of the year, I was fielding hate calls. You're a sexist organization. I'm not going to give you any money. Why aren't you doing this for boys? Why aren't you doing this for incarcerated women? Why aren't you doing this for City of Phoenix employees? And I was like, I was bullied as a kid. I took my thing and I created this organization. You go do that. I can show you how. Good luck. Peace out. But I didn't say no. I said yes to everything. I said yes to incarcerated women programs. I said yes to partnering with Nicole Stanton, who launched Stop Bullying AZ. And I was standing with her up in front of 500 City of Phoenix employees talking about bullying in the workplace. I had no business talking about that. But I said yes, because when I said no, people talked nasty about me. Didn't know how to work with that. For the next several years, I was managing Arizona State University interns, 5 at a time, every semester, putting them out into the workplace, putting them out into the school districts, giving them the tools to run programs. And I started getting really sad, depleted. I put on 50 pounds in a matter of a couple of years. I hadn't seen my friends because I was so broke that sometimes I didn't even have the gas money to get to wherever it is we were going. I was questioning whether or not I could feed my dog or feed me some weeks. It was nuts. Meanwhile, I'm on TV everywhere. I'm on stage everywhere. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of opportunities. We had great foundation. We had great research. I was being fantastic. Running a nonprofit is hard. Being in this sector is challenging. Fighting for the same dollar was nuts. I was a startup being put in Pitch Fest with the Phoenix Children's Hospital. No one's going to give a self-esteem program money when you're talking about dying babies. But yet, because I was the media maven and I was in Glamour magazine and fielding all these calls from all these producers, companies were putting me out in front to talk to the media to gain attention for other organizations. It left a very bad taste in my mouth. So when I hit 35, I'd been doing it for several years, I woke up on my 35th birthday and I heard the term burnout flash through my mind. I was like, okay, I got to make some changes here. I grabbed Google. I was like, Google, what's burnout? Google said, psychological, physical, emotional exhaustion due to chronic stress. And I started bawling, like ugly crying, snot running down my face, not knowing, I couldn't breathe, I was hyperventilating. Went to the bathroom, started splashing cold water in my face. And the more I did it, the less I was crying, and eventually I started laughing. That felt good, that little shift. I could feel it in my body. Had no idea why I felt different, but I made note. Cold water makes me feel better. Cool, okay. Went downstairs, grabbed the biggest cup of coffee I could find, sat down with a notebook and a pen, and I was like, for the next year of my life, I'm going to figure out how to find my happy. I need to be happy again. I started listing out all these things, and nothing on my list were things that I was actually doing. I realized that the organization had created a distance between me and my loved ones. It became my skin. It became my identity. I lost myself in it, and I had to find my way back. That's not an easy thing to do, and it meant that I had to adjust how I was living my life in order to find me again. There had to be a difference. I couldn't be the organization anymore. I couldn't be the spoke. I couldn't be the wheel. I couldn't be the thing in the middle. I couldn't be the things. I had to find me. So I spent the next 8 weeks isolated in my childhood home in Wisconsin, didn't have internet access. If I wanted to make a phone call, I had to stay in a specific spot in the driveway at like tilted. It was fantastic. I was alone. And I started to unpack, how did I get here? How did this happen? I did it. I didn't say no. I didn't have boundaries. Entrepreneurship burnout, in this industry specifically, because I had created it myself, was something that I didn't know how to flip until I had gotten to the bottom. I had to start making changes. So I started with this list of things that made me happy, and I decided to start calling it my non-negotiable list. What do I have to have in my life in order to function as a fully operational human being that is not going to throw punch somebody and get arrested? How do I prevent myself from being unhappy for the rest of my life? Things had to change. So really small things started to make sense to me. I couldn't breathe past my rib cage. I couldn't stand still. I couldn't sit by myself. My mind never stopped running. How do I change those things? Burnout wasn't something that was well researched back then, so I had to start piecemealing it myself. Every time I would feel different, I would make note of it. I feel better when I sit outside and stare at the clouds. I wonder why. I feel good when I sit and I stretch with my legs up the wall. I feel good when I'm splashing cold water in my face. How do I have those on a regular basis? So I started with my calendar. This was on my non-negotiable list. I highly recommend, if you are in a place of burnout or you feel your staff is in a place of burnout, and again, going back to the motherboard, in order to come out of that place, we have to start reprogramming our day-to-day. We have to start giving ourselves opportunities to live differently. One of the very first things I did when I came back into my work environment was block out my calendar. Nobody could book a call with me before 9 a.m. Nobody could book a call with me after 4:30. I stopped answering calls at night. I stopped responding to emails at night. I stopped responding to anything over the weekend. I ran an organization that had after-school programs. I did not need to be available on the weekend. Some of you might have to. You might have to manipulate, or your staff, you might have to manipulate a few things to fit your needs, but for me, showing up at 9 a.m. was totally appropriate. Not answering the phone after 4:30 was appropriate. Non-negotiable, number one. Second thing was I blocked off 30 minutes for myself for lunch. How many of you actually take a lunch break? So, proud of you. Right. So over the last several years, I've traveled the country talking about burnout recovery to everyone from Fortune 500 companies to healthcare companies. This question, always, nobody, everyone laughing, lunch break, what the heck, what's that? We're a human being. We have to function as a human being. Food, water, those things have to happen. If you are in an environment where you're running all the time, highly recommend you do things. I love subscription boxes. I love subscription boxes that come with high protein snacks. Lunch break doesn't have to be you sitting out in a park by yourself for 30 minutes, but you have to disconnect throughout the day for your brain to function differently so that your body functions differently. Because again, if the goal is to get out of burnout, we can't operate the way that we are right now. We have to do things differently. I'm not saying you have to do more things. You have to shift what you're doing in order to have a different result. Who said that? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting different result. Lunch breaks, non-negotiable, at least it was for me. So when I stepped back into my work after 8 weeks of figuring out I needed to run my life differently, the very first thing I did was create a train the trainer program. I flipped our organization on its head. I went from B2C to B2B. We started licensing our program around the country. Eventually, we were in California, Texas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, New York. I had programs running in Harlem, which was very cool. The very first place I trained, though, we partnered with Southwest. They flew us all over the country. I went up North California. Non-negotiable for me was travel. I hadn't done it in years. And I figured if I'm going to travel around the country and teach people how to do this program, I would attach a day in the beginning and a day afterwards. So I found myself at the beach in January of 2015. It's very cold in Northern California. Water had to be like 50 degrees. And I'm looking at all these surfer dudes excited, and they're laughing and they're thrilled. And my feet's in the water, and I'm like, how are these guys looking like they're looking? This water is freezing. Eventually, I accidentally found cold therapy. How many of you do cold therapy? Okay, so let's talk about that. I got into my bathing suit, walked into the water, freezing cold, plunged in, got all wet, came out. My shoulders are in my ears, my teeth are chattering, but I'm laughing. And I remember splashing my water on my face that morning on my 35th birthday. I had the same reaction. Our bodies have a physiological shift in cold water. And I'm not talking like Jack and Rose cold. I'm talking like 50 to 65 degrees cold, okay? It's called tip the temperature. It's a boomerang effect. We go from fight or flight, a state of surviving. In cold water, our bodies expand and like thrive. It helps every nerve in our body reset. And it's the quickest way for me personally to shift my attitude. I start my day with a cold shower, and I'm talking like 30 seconds. I end my day with a cold shower. First, it's a bookend, like a boundary for me. But because we don't always have access to cold shower in the middle of the day, I bought this. This is a $7, it's called an ice roller. Athletes use it, estheticians use it. I run it, put it in my freezer. I run it on my vagus nerve after meetings to calm down after, or I've had, a disappointing conversation or something, run it up and down my vagus nerve. In the middle of the day for 30 seconds, this shifts. This is like a non-negotiable for me. How many of you have access to a fridge at work? Highly recommend. Put your name on it. You're going into the fridge anyway. You're going into the kitchen anyway to get your water, to get your coffee, to get your lunch, whatever, because lunch breaks are important. Grab this thing, run it on your neck for 30 seconds at a time, and you will notice a shift. It's incredible. I recommend it to everyone. I came back from California with this idea that, okay, cold therapy supports me. I know boundaries help me. I know having lunch breaks help me. But I really was looking for that. How do I find that happy thing again? So I started leaning into what makes me laugh. For me, happiness meant laughter. Little tiny simple joys in life. How do I find more of them? I made a list of all the things that made me laugh. Funny movies, people, conversations, places. And I became somebody that was attracted to, I'm going to start eliminating the people in my life I know weigh me down. And I'm going to start looking for the people that make me laugh. I started shifting my physical circle. How many of you have energy vampires in your life? Right? Do we work with them all the time? Probably. We can't necessarily change that. But we can immediately, as soon as we have that conversation with that person, we expect to be kind of weighted down. We have to find a reason to pop out of it. So if it's not running to the kitchen to put your ice roller on your neck, thinking of something that makes you laugh, watching a funny video. And I'm not talking like, ha ha, ha, little laughter. I'm talking like belly laugh. You might need to, excuse yourself for another bathroom laugh. Like, we're big belly laughs here. And again, going back to your vagus nerve, big belly laughter activates your vagus nerve that has a direct connection to your nervous system that tells your mind you're safe. You're not in danger. You just had an uncomfortable conversation. You can easily switch this. You can easily fix it. Laughter is one of the best, easiest ways to do it. So we have sigh with sound, cold therapy, laughter. 3 easy ways to flip your nervous system out of fight or flight and into relaxation.